Hey friends, in this one we're going to go head to head between the Atem Mini Pro and the Atem Mini Extreme.
Be seen, heard, and better understood through virtual gatherings. Elevate your message with corporate streams.
Hi, I'm Noah from Corporate Streams, and if you're like me, you do some sort of live streaming and you're looking at some Atem Mini products to see which one of these fits your needs the best. So looking at the Atem Mini, there are 3 different models in this lineup. There's the Atem Mini, the original, Atem Mini Pro, and then Atem Mini ISO. The tail words are the ones that differentiate the 3 models. The Mini is $295, the Pro is $595, and then if you want that ISO recording, it is $895. We're gonna kind of differentiate each one of these different models and talk about which one that you might want and what features you get from upgrading from one to the other. Each one of these 3 switchers allows you to do 4 HDMI inputs. It can be used with Zoom, Wirecast, or any other program that could capture a webcam. So that's super helpful and that's super cool. And a lot of the standard things like dissolving between them, picture-in-picture, 1/8" inputs are all part of the Atem Mini lineup. You also have a keyer in all of the Atem Mini models. The Atem Minis can do up to 1080p, 60 frames a second at 10-bit 422. Most prosumer cameras are 8-bit, so having a 10-bit makes it professional and adds a lot of dynamic range to the color. It has a media player which can do stills and graphics like lower thirds, a DVE transition, which can do wipes, dips, and other effects. It has an upstream key and a downstream key for those graphics. And then it could also generate colors, like color bars or a solid color of your choice. The upstream keyer can be used for a chroma key so that you can remove a green background behind your subject. That's typically what an upstream key is used for, and a downstream key is typically used for a bug, lower third, or other type of graphic. The audio mixer is also built in, and the buttons on the top will allow you quick access to 3 decibels of gain, either up or down. The Atem Minis have an HDMI output, and the Extremes allow 2 HDMI outputs. So Atem Minis can be controlled over a network. So you plug in an Ethernet to the Atem Mini, this can go to a switch, and you can plug another computer or device into the network so that you can access the settings of the Atem through the Atem control software. You can also set up the device with the Atem Mini setup software. There are 2 separate software programs that can control your switcher. All of the Atem Minis have a scaler built in, so you can take lower sources like 720p and upscale them into 1080p. And when we move up to the Atem Mini Pro, you have the ability to record program through USB. You also have the ability to stream directly from this device to an RTMP, which is an internet protocol that allows you to send and receive live video. That's what's used on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and many other platforms. You can stream directly from their device and you can record directly onto a hard drive. Just keep in mind, you cannot record both on an SSD and connect the Atem Mini Pro to a computer at the same time because there's only one USB port, and that USB port can only communicate with one device at a time. Now that we've seen the Atem Mini, let's go ahead and look at the Extreme and see what the base model looks like. The Atem Mini Extreme has 8 HDMI inputs. It can stream directly from this device, be controlled over Ethernet, and has 2 USB ports so that you can record and use this as a webcam at the same time. It has an 11-channel audio mixer. And I think one more thing I'm gonna do for clarity's sake, I'm gonna try to keep the names simple. So I'm just gonna say Pro and Extreme. So you can imply that the ISO can be applied to either one of these devices. They're both Atem Minis, right? So let's shorten the word phrases here and let's just stick with Pro versus Extreme, because I know that's going to be a mouthful and I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again. The ISO would be implied for individual recording. The Atem Mini is implied to both of these products. The Extreme also gives you 1 HD multi-view with up to 16 different sources. It has 4 upstream keys and 2 downstream keys. It also has the ability to do 4 chroma keys. So that means you can take 4 different cameras and key each one of those channels. That's super impressive, especially if you consider that you also have Super Source, which is especially helpful when layering multiple images into one screen layout. So I do want to note that there is a distinction with ISO. So ISO allows you to record each channel individually, and that upgrade is available on both the Atem Mini Pro and the Atem Mini Extreme. It's a $300 bump on either device, so that puts the Atem Mini Pro ISO at $895, whereas the Atem Mini Extreme ISO is $1295. A little thing I want to note is the fans on the side. So you'll see with the Pro, the fan port is a little bit smaller compared to the Extreme, and that's to be expected because the Extreme is way bigger than its counterpart. The thickness of this device is about the same, except that the Extreme is longer, so you get about another inch or so, and it is significantly heavier. So the Pro is about 21 ounces, which is about 594 grams or 1.3 pounds. The Extreme ISO is 44 ounces or 1,262 grams and 2.78 pounds. So let's talk about some of the differences just on the hardware layout, and then we'll go under the hood and talk about some of the features that the Extreme can do that the Pro cannot. Some other similarities, you do have 1/8 inch inputs for microphones. You have 2 inputs on both of these devices. The 4 HDMI ins, you can turn on audio follows video. You can turn on embedded audio through the HDMI on all 4 of these channels. Same here, except obviously you get 8. You have the same cut, auto, and fade to black with duration, effects, and your video out, which you can select with the Pro. You have similar features here with the duration, the effects, except you have more hardware buttons on the effects panel. And then your video out is the same thing where you have multiple things to select here, except you have up to 8 inputs, right? So you have 8 buttons to press for that video out, plus the multi-view splitter, plus you get an extra HDMI out. So this one has 2 HDMI outs, which can be independently controlled, although there's only 1 multi-view out for this system. Okay, so coming back to the Pro, you have the keyer on top here. We also have a key button here. You could record, start and stop here, and the stream button as well. So those are all congruent, those are the same. So basically, all the functionalities that you have on the Pro, you also have on the Extreme. The buttons definitely feel very similar. I'm sure it's the same exact buttons and process that they did to build this thing, except they extended it. The plastic seems very similar. Now, there's one little minor thing, it may not be a big deal to you, but some sort of internal thing is making a different kind of rattle or noise within the Extreme. Hopefully that doesn't bother you. Hopefully it doesn't affect the switcher because I'm gonna be using this on the road. Only time will tell with that though. With the Pro, you do have a black and a stills button that you can quickly get to. However, on the Extreme, you have super source switches added, and then you have still/super source. That's a mouthful. And then 2 media pools as well that you have quick access to here. So that's kind of nice that they upgraded those buttons. One of the first differences here, you do have a headphone jack and some hardware buttons to affect that. So that's super helpful if you need to monitor stuff, which we all need to do one way or another. So you can do that directly onto this device without having to mess with the computer. We do have the select bus. Then we also have camera controls. So for each one of these cameras, we can do gain, focus, black, and shutter. Now I do want to preface that this is really designed for the pocket 4Ks and 6K cameras. So Blackmagic can send and receive a signal over HDMI, which is a pretty innovative process to control those specific cameras. Then of course we went from 4 channels to 8, so all of these buttons are just replicated here. Our picture-in-picture now includes the ability to do the super source or split screen, so that is nice that it's just a one touch button here. And then you can program these macros so that you can do custom super source layouts, and that will allow you to do multiple videos on screen and not just a single picture-in-picture like I'm doing now, where you have this overhead shot and then the picture of me in the side over here. You can do up to 6 different sources, I believe, all layered out so that you can see everything in that, and you can set those up in macros. And even though a lot of these transitions are the same and you can do the same transitions on either one of these 2 devices, you have a lot more hardware buttons to allow you to do those quicker transitions. One of the things I'm most excited for is the dual USB-C connectors here. One of them can be plugged into a hard drive while the other can be plugged directly into a computer. So you could simultaneously record on this device and live stream via computer. That was kind of frustrating for me before because I was trying to use the Atem Mini Pro as a recorder and as a webcam at the same time, and that just doesn't work because USB protocol only allows you to connect to one device at a time. So now that we have 2 separate ports, that's a huge upgrade, at least for me, for that. So that's our comparison between the 2 devices. If you're debating between the Pro and the Atem Mini Extreme, I think it might be worth it to upgrade to the Extreme. You get 2 HDMI outputs, a multi-view, super source, a headphone jack, buttons for fast camera control, and of course my personal favorite, 2 USB ports so that you can record in the device plus use it as a webcam emulator at the same time. The Pro is an excellent affordable switcher, but now that the Extreme's out, the $300 price jump is worth it, at least to me. What do you think? Are you gonna stick with your Pro or are you gonna upgrade to the Extreme? Or are you like me where you want the ability to record each channel individually and you bought the ISO version? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.